And of course, I can't actually tell if it's recording or not. There we go, recording has started. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stephen Still. I'm one of the co-chairs for Canstruction Phoenix Metro. I know I've met at least half of you, I believe, I recognize names, maybe a few more. I'm returning co-chair for the past couple of years. Dana Smith, who's also on the call with AI Phoenix Metro, is my other co-chair. I'm sure some of you have talked to her as well, exchanged some emails, information like that. So, on behalf of ourselves and the committee, I want to welcome you all to the end of our inaugural kickoff meeting for Canstruction Phoenix Metro for the 2023 event. I'm sure some of you have seen this presentation before. Some minor changes, try to keep this updated each year as we go through kind of lessons learned from previous years and can help share the most current information as we roll along. So that being said, I'll go ahead and jump in. I believe I have 25 or so slides. If there's any questions, let's go ahead and save it to the end, and we'll try to get a little Q&A session going at that point to answer anything I might have missed during the presentation. All right, first off, what is Canstruction? From anyone who hasn't actually been a part of the event or been able to visit the competitions we've had in the past. In short, it's a kind of charity-based competition where we get together, build structures out of canned food goods, based around the construction industry, architects, engineers, contractors. Kind of started the events. This might actually be their 30th anniversary this year. They're getting close to that. And again, really, it's an event that started in New York, has grown since then. And oops, sorry. I will get that changed in a second. Just an event that's grown. Phoenix Canstruction, previous slide, we were in our 16th year this year. And this year, our big build day, which is pretty much the prime event, will be on August 5th, 2023. Fixing that year for a PDF this presentation out later. The event this year, actually, I'll get into a little bit further. We'll be up for 2 weeks once again. We'll go over kind of the visitation and deconstruction and all the processes here in a moment. Again, we've been rolling for 16 years now. The most 10 recent years, kind of our donations. All of our events so far have sponsored St. Mary's Food Bank. They've been a great partner for logistics and helping us procure cans, move the cans around several times throughout the process. So we continue to partner up with them to get this event and kind of support them during their slower summer months. 2022, between our can donations and also monetary donations afterwards, amounted to about 98,000 meals served through the event for St. Mary's. Again, that's actually our largest, and a lot of that was kind of some of the changes we made to some of the kind of donation fundraising through the event. Get a great success, and we'll have to continue growing that into 2023. One slide, because we always get this question. We are not officially a 501c3 charity. St. Mary's certainly is, but this event specifically is not. Therefore, we are not a tax deductible event. Most firms, architects, engineers, contractors, typically use this for marketing or public relation expenses. Just because we get exempt, we get asked this question, we'll make sure we cover that early on. All right, getting into the meat of the events. As mentioned, our event this year will be on August 5th for the build day. We will be returning to Arrowhead Town Center, looking at a very similar collection of spaces we were in last year with the two larger courts kind of at each end of the mall, having a couple structures located in the central court area. That should be a little bit larger this year than it was last. And really, I think last year, also, we probably had more people actually see the event during build day alone, let alone the 2 weeks afterwards. So I think it's been a great event at that location. Lots of publicity, lots of people asking questions, and just some great visibility, getting the teams recognized for all their hard work, and also getting the kind of St. Mary's need out there as well. Structures will be up for 2 weeks again this year. Thankfully, it's in a mall. Public viewing is pretty much the hours the mall is open. They will be up through deconstruction, which will be on August 19th. 2022, we tried our first event with a theme. I believe there was probably some who'd agree in some ways it was a success. Some ways we had some challenges. 2023, we are going to try one more time with the theme, see if we can learn our lessons from last year and make it a little bit better. We'll go over the theme here in a moment and kind of some suggestions, iterations as we start moving forward with that. Another change we've made, just based on some comments from the teams previous years and also from the committee as well, we are tweaking the changes to the Structural Ingenuity Award. Going back a couple of years, we're going more towards a can supporting can being the structural ingenuity. I think leveling boards have become a great success, but there's some concern about how much cost and weight they are on the team or waste they are on the teams. Most of them aren't able to be reused year to year. So really looking for teams to get a little bit more creative on how they can make the structures work using fewer or no leveling boards. I think there's one team last year that managed that. People's Choice Award, again, kind of working on lessons we learned from 2023. It was actually, by far our best year supporting St. Mary's. So there's definitely some strength in the process we went through. The caveat to that is I think it kind of turned into a bidding war between two of the teams, which absolutely was not the intent. We'll be working on kind of changes on the People's Choice. We still will be funding it through a donation to St. Mary's. We will be working in ways to make sure that it's increased public voting and donations, and it's not less a cost expense on the teams themselves. So we'll be sharing more information of that as we go through and closer to the event. And this year, we're really looking at increased outreach between firms that are aware of construction but may not have participated before, and also kind of new teams who may be a little lost just because it is quite the challenge to get moving your first year. So we are looking at ways to provide mentoring opportunities from former team captains who are willing to help out first-time teams, kind of maybe offer some suggestions and guidance to the process. We are working at setting up a informational meeting. I think we're going to call it Canstruction 101, looking at just the basics of how do you make a structure work, what's involved in creating one, how do you create one successfully, how do you procure the cans, things like that. And we'll go over the date for that here momentarily. Also, we usually have a couple of companies that will message us throughout the year and just ask if there's an opportunity for them to join a team. We're reaching out to some of our regular longtime teams. I know some already have mentioned it. Just looking for opportunity of, if they have three companies on their team, if they're willing to maybe accept one or two other first-time teams just to get them more familiar with the event and either create a longer-term relationship or just work to get more teams to the event and improve the size of the event and get a better competition overall. All right, going through some quick dates. All of this will be in the forthcoming call for entries and then the team packets if you actually do register. So we'll won't spend too much time on this. Obviously, today, March 23rd, team kickoff meeting. Call for entries and registration we will have posted and open tomorrow. I'm looking at May 4th, which is another Thursday for that Canstruction 101 presentation. Obviously, that'll be optional. I'm really going to try to gear that towards some of the teams that are in it for the first time, or maybe they've done one or two events, which like to learn a little bit more. The following day, May 5th, will be the deadline for entries and paying the entry fee. There's a little bit of leeway there. Usually we'll have an entry fee, and some teams aren't able to pay to the following week. That's acceptable. Just try to make sure we know what teams we have to work with to start arranging our space with an arrowhead at that point. The following Monday, we'll get a team packet sent out. Those will include all the forms, rules, contacts for procuring cans, different grocery store chains, things like that. Excuse me. Following that, June 9th will be the structural sketches with dimensions due. Again, trying to kind of lay out our space, know what we're working with, start working the logistics of getting everything organized. After that, the various team forms, photos, t-shirts, all those are due. Moving into the event dates. 7/31, so July 31st and August 1st. Really the first critical date, getting all your cans delivered to St. Mary's Food Bank so we can get them weighed and staged for delivery to the event venue. August 4th, we'll be moving the cans in. Usually we recommend at least one person from each team can stop by, touch base, make sure your cans have arrived successfully. We're not missing any pallets of cans, which doesn't usually happen, but has once or twice. And then August 5th will be the build day. So really, again, that is the premier day of the event. We'll start building at 8 a.m., which is our usual start time. Teams will have 12 hours to complete their structures. I think last year we had one team go to 8 hours. So yeah, it's can be a long day. Again, it really depends on the challenge of the structures, and then some teams will do a test build beforehand and kind of have everything in hand. Some will do a little bit more testing the day of, and all that will follow with some of that informational meeting following. August 8th for judging. Again, kind of a closed affair, but at that point we'll start being able to notify the winners and hopefully get those posted for the duration of the event. August 19th, deconstruction. Pretty much start at 7 a.m. Everything tends to be wrapped up within an hour or two. We'll give more information, but really hard to emphasize. Deconstruction is actually a very fun event. For as long as it takes to put the structures up, they come down pretty fast, and it's just a lot of chaos and teamwork. And I'll touch up that last date, August 19th. We'll also do the brunch similar to last year, just a chance to hand out the photos, get together, kind of talk, share war stories from the year, things like that. Public viewing, I mentioned before, from August 5th during build day through August 18th, which is the day before deconstruction. Anytime the Arrowhead Town Center is open, the event will be open for public. So make sure you get your coworkers, friends, family, anyone you've talked to who's been curious about the event, because there's always a couple. Get them out there to see it during that time, and do a bit of bragging. Some of the quick rules and regulations. Again, these kind of come straight from Canstruction Global, so they're
Stephen, can you hear me?
Did we lose Steven, Diana?
I think we've lost Stephen's audio. He- Yes, the slides are going, but we don't hear Stephen talking.
testing. Am I back?
There you go. You're
Okay,
back.
there we go. I saw all the dots lighting up and figured something had happened. Okay. Yeah, let me know if I go silent for more than 15 seconds or so. So rule number 3, be photographed for 2 reasons. One will be for the team photos. The second will be for the national awards. If your team, or sorry, we'll get to actually a little bit more on the photographing here in a second. Miscellaneous rules. First one, all structures must fit within a 10-foot by 10-foot by 10-foot cube. Again, sometimes we'll get within an inch or two. Please make sure you're fitting within the 9-foot 11 versus the 10-foot 1. Just make sure you're fitting within that boundary, so you don't have to remove a can or risk dequalification. And this year's theme. So it's one that we had talked about last year. I think our theme may have been a bit too confined. There was definitely a risk of the first idea that comes to mind was the most popular. I think everybody saw that a little bit last year, so we're trying to be a little bit more open. So the theme this year is a holiday for any season. And really started as Christmas in July, back when our event was going to be in July before we pushed it to August. And then trying to open it up a bit more, not just Christmas, any holiday. We tend to push our event so it's during the quiet months at the end of summer. Labor Day tends to be the only day we start bumping up against. So we want to make sure that if you've ever had a great idea for a Christmas themed, Halloween themed, Easter themed, Memorial Day, 4th of July, any holiday at all, if you had a great idea that you just never make work in the time frame, this is the year. So we'll share a little bit more kind of about that. And for some of the newer teams that may have a question, St. Patty's Day, absolutely. So the idea, teams that might be wondering why we have a theme, it is something about half of the construction events do. It gives a little bit more, cohesiveness for people viewing the event. When you have a computer, airport, a zoo, so the Wizard Walls all in one event, it's a little bit harder to kind of tie everything together. So it provides a little bit of structure, and it also provides a way for judges to really have something to compare all the structures against when they're trying to judge for best original design. Having a theme certainly kind of gives them something to frame their scoring and metrics around versus something quite so open as we have in the past. So, reiterating last year, the intent of the theme is really not to inhibit the creativity. We still want you to be off the wall, get out there, kind of find a unique concept no one else is going to have, and start making it your own for your structure. Getting back into the more cut and dry rules, maximum 5 builders permitted within the 10-foot cube at any time. Really, it's 5 people placing cans on the structure at once. Additional people can absolutely help unwrap cans, hand cans in, be holding the plans, directing traffic, whatever else, but only 5 are building at one time. It's called Canstruction. Metal and aluminum food cans are the preferred, device of choice. Other food goods that are plastic wraps are allowed. Just consider durability. Bottled water is popular. It's also the first container that tends to fail and cause a little bit of a mess in some cases. Structures must be completely self-supporting, so no columns or beams, anything supporting the weight. It has to be, again, cans holding cans all the way up, all the way to the ground. Just because we do have structures occasionally fail, no glass containers, please. Obviously, no pet food or alcoholic beverages. These are things that go to the food bank and have to be handed out within the food boxes they create. Props and non-edible elements are allowed. Allowed but discouraged. If I think the example we give is you have 2 structures of an alien. One has cardboard eyes. The other actually makes the eyes out of cans. The one with cans will score better during judging. So try to use cans where you can for all of your structural elements. Soda, junk food certainly can be used and have been used successfully in the past, especially when you start considering best a meal. That will start counting against you a bit as you're competing against tunas and beans and veggies and things like that. No opened or exposed food. Obviously, we don't want them in the space and can't be used afterwards. Cans must be full, unopened, and most importantly, labels intact, legible, and uncovered. That's something Canstruction National had added to. They cannot be covered, stripped off, or altered in any way. They have to be the base can cover. Otherwise, again, for best use of labels, that will count against you for that category. Boxes of props are strongly discouraged. See above, use cans where you can. And lastly, no glue, welding, or other permanent fixing to cans. We do have to take these down, get them into the big shared bins, and then off to St. Mary's for distribution. So anything destructive or permanent just does not work well. Any questions before I go too much further? We're almost done. Actually, about halfway done. Anything on the rules in general that may have come up? Okay. Materials. This is the same as previous years. 1/4 thick materials, be it foam board, gator board, masonites, very thin plywood, plexiglass are permitted. Cardboard and all thread can be used as guides, but cannot support the weight of the cans. Velcro, double-sided tape, rubber bands, wire, nylon strings, zip ties. All of those are permitted. All have been used successfully over the years. Last year, I think we may have had one of our first instances of magnets being used as well. Again, anything non-permanent. Not permissible, 2x4s, 1/2-inch plywood, and kind of the heavy-duty structural materials that really start taking away from the constructions and then the permanent adhesives. Safety, we'll definitely cover this a bit closer to build day, but we want to make this a safe and enjoyable experience. closed-toe shoes, anything that it can slip will not cause too much discomfort if it hits your foot, because that does happen. Because we are in a mall in a fairly populated space, always be mindful of kind of your structure, your tools, your equipment, your staging, making sure you're not getting into the other team's ways or into the circulation. We have a little bit more room than we have years past, but definitely not a unlimited amount. Always be careful lifting. Be cautious with getting on and off ladders, because some of these structures can give 10 feet. There are people on ladders quite a bit surrounding them, getting them completed. Last one, as always, kids are absolutely welcome to come and help out. All we ask is that once these structures are above their heads, they're kept back a bit further away, just in case some of the cans do fall during construction. We want to keep them safe. Recycling, we will have trash and recycling bins available. I think December last year will be some of the committee kind of running those back and forth. So maybe staging them to the side, then we'll come and collect them. We do recycle cardboard everywhere we can. Then the plastic wrap from the cans will go to trash, because it's hard to recycle that and takes up quite a bit of space. Acquisitions of cans. The most important part is teams are responsible for procuring and funding their own cans. Similarly, selecting the store and brands that we'd like to use. We will have a list of contacts for the various stores and chains around town that you can use in contact, or if you have a local store you'd rather use instead, by all means work with them to acquire the cans. As far as moving the cans around, you're responsible for getting the cans to St. Mary's. Either that can be your team dropping them off, or having one of the stores deliver direct to St. Mary's. I think we're about 50-50 with that now. Through later in the process, we'll coordinate all this with individual teams, but you'll select a time and date to drop your cans off at St. Mary's. Once you're there, can contact John Drake, who's our contact with St. Mary's, that they're available. He'll help make sure they get moved to the correct area of the food bank. They get weighed and staged for drop off at the event venue. One thing that will absolutely help is making sure your pallets of cans include your team number. This is a little bit more difficult when the cans are dropped off by stores. So that's definitely something we're still trying to improve, just making sure that the cans go to the correct place and don't start entering the donation process, which would be kind of a worst case scenario for doing that a little too quick. Signage, I'll skip through this. Pretty much, Canstruction will provide one board that includes some general information. That's all dictated by the construction event internationally. And then we do allow for teams to have one additional board that includes thanking specific sponsors, maybe include some rendering, some additional information on their concept. Sorry, thinking back. I'm just trying to keep the standard boards into one board beside it to keep from cluttering up the event space too much, and to make sure it's clear which signs associated with which structures. Build day, covered most of these before. Team captain meet at 7:30. We'll hand out the team t-shirts. Just get everybody checked in. Do as much prefabrication as you can prior to arriving at the build site. We really do ask you, limit or eliminate any cutting or fabricating materials. That's going to leave a mess within the venue space, especially. Bring extra supplies. Bring all the tools you'll need. And then once your structure is complete, make sure you let one of the committee members know, just so we can get your team photo taken before your team breaks up and departs for the day. On build day, we will try to provide a map ahead of time of where your structure will be located. We'll try to provide it early enough that you might be able to kind of anticipate facing and adjusting your structure slightly based on your location. Caveat to that is, we're moving cans in. Things do sometimes work differently in the field and the plans. There will be some variation there that's possible. We'll try to make sure you know where you're going to be within the space for build day. As said before, it is a fairly busy space once the mall opens, so be mindful of where you're keeping everything and where your team is at. And thankfully, we don't have the restrictions on food anymore, so either you can bring food for first thing, or start getting anything from the mall once the stores start to open. Photography, as I mentioned, we'll take one photo of the teams for the framed pictures we hand out. They will take pictures of the structures themselves afterwards. That will be used for submittal for awards internationally. If your team would like to take their own photos, that is absolutely allowable. We just ask that you limit it to 3 photos to provide to us after the event completion. We'll make sure those go out to the national award submittal. Kind of as your chosen photos. Otherwise, we'll use the ones that we take. We try to make sure we get a good representation of your structures to get judged fairly for getting Phoenix, getting a good presence and good stake for some of those larger awards. Some teams do take time-lapse photos and videos. That's awesome. We love to see those afterwards. Just make sure wherever your tripod is set up, it's not blocking circulation from teams or other customers in the mall. Judging, this generally be the same as previous years. The award categories are the same: Best Original Design, formerly called Juror's Choice, Structural Ingenuity, Best Meal, Best Use Labels, Most Cans, Honorable Mention, and then People's Choice. Honorable Mention is typically awarded if we have a structure that ranks second in multiple award categories but doesn't actually win any. Just make sure that it is recognized that they're runner-up repeatedly, and recognizing that they were well represented but didn't actually top out any of the categories. People's Choice. So we will be working the same way we did last year, where pretty much donations to St. Mary's in a structure's honor will count as votes towards People's Choice. This year, we will make sure that the voting link for each team is included on each board throughout the space, so it's very clear which link goes to which team. Those will be available pretty much on build day, so there won't be any lag there. And then we'll have some kind of neutral banners throughout the space that will explain the process and kind of the reasoning behind it. The reason we've done this is we've had multiple challenges through the years of in-person voting was great until people stuffed the ballot box one night and just went through, checked everything, and filled the box. We went to online voting with Facebook until the bots found us one year, and one team got 100 times the votes of any other team overnight, and that one became a little bit of an issue. After that, we went to SurveyMonkey, and that worked reasonably well. It's hard to pay subscription services for that when we'd rather that money go to St. Mary's for kind of support the event and support their purpose. So that's kind of where we landed with our People's Choice. The caveat that is we do want that to be a kind of publicly voted upon and funded fundraiser. We don't want it to be a bidding war among the teams. So we will be going through channels, efforts, and design changes to make sure that is clear throughout the process. So again, the intent is really, it's just people see it, people want to donate to St. Mary's. They can do that through voting for a structure. Is really the intent there. Deconstruction, August 19th, starting at 7 a.m. We are starting a little bit earlier than previous years, same as last year though. And that's just to make sure that we are out of the space before the mall opens. Don't want to have too much madness for too many weekends in a row. Your team is responsible for taking down your own structure. You're not limited to 5 people, so bring as many as you like to fit around the structure, get everything taken down. We do ask that if you finish first, you just jump and help take down the structure next to you. It's kind of a stack of dominoes. Once one finishes, and the next one's coming down quicker and quicker and quicker. Like it's actually a pretty fun event. So get your team out there and get about an hour of madness, and then we'll get to the decompression brunch when pretty much give breakfast. So similar to last year, we'll actually have it at Chompy's this year, which is adjacent to one of our event spaces. It'll be held August 19th, right after deconstruction. Really, the intent is just grab a bite to eat, talk with your teams, talk with other teams, share war stories and experiences throughout the year. We will announce People's Choice Award at the brunch event. We will hand out the engraved awards if we have them available. Last year we didn't get them from Canstruction International until pretty late. We will hand out team photos as well that day. So it's just come kind of hear the event closures, provide information we can from the year and for the following event, and pretty much just come relax and have a good time. All right. That being said, thank you everyone for calling in. If you have any questions, by all means share them now. If anything comes up in the meantime, we're always welcome at our email event, which is constructionphoenixmetro@gmail.com. Any questions?
It's a quiet group.
It's a quiet group. Come on, Nicole, you have something.
Thanks, Steve. Good job. Thanks, Diana. Yeah.
Thanks, Margie.
Oh, all right. If there's no questions, like I said, I'll be working to get the call for entries and just kind of an informational flyer completed and emailed out tomorrow. That will go to the email distribution list and then posted to social media, so you should be able to find it. If you don't see it, this Friday or Monday, I can shoot us an email. We'll make sure we can get you a copy of those PDFs as quickly as we can. All right. Well, thank you all very much. I will end the recording. Hopefully, there we go.